Hello there, Impact Zone podcast. We are back here again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and today a couple of different partnerships and signings that we wanted to discuss. Now, a couple of these are a little bit old, and of course, by the time I actually publish this, they'll be a little bit even older. So it's not news to a lot of people, I would say, at this time, but that it is what it is. Like, I don't really cover the news. Like I say, I'm not really on the ball. Plus, again, like, I'm in a different time zone, so it's really difficult to keep up with the news as it breaks, because again, a lot of when the news breaks, it is on the US time zone, not on the time zone where I'm at. So it's usually a few hours after, because I am usually asleep at the time that they announce a lot of these things. But any which way, they have a couple of deals that they have done recently. One with iHeartRadio. I'm not really sure exactly what that's really going to do for them. But sure, a deal's a deal. And, like, again, just sponsorship helps anyway. But yeah, certainly it's something. And I think iHeartRadio is like one of the biggest streaming apps out there for podcasts and whatnot. So, and radio shows and whatnot in general. So, and again, like, they have a lot of wrestlers go out and do radio interviews and things like that as well. So I'm sure it can't hurt. But the other deal is with Warner Brothers India. So that, like, initially I just read Warner Brothers and I was like, wait, what? And this is meant to, the Warner Brothers thing, I think it's properly meant to start in 2027. They've had a few deals in India, like, before this, but I'm not sure when their current deal ends. So I'm not going to go too deep into too many of the details here, I guess, with these, because I'm sure that the details are out there for people already, pretty much. And as I said, this is not real, like, heavy breaking news, guys, or whatever. But the thing that I wanted to sort of come on here and sort of talk about is, like, I think one of the best things right now about TNA is they haven't been, well, for the most part, they haven't been making these big promises and then not delivering, or then delivering something that underwhelms. You know what I mean? For the most part, they don't say, hey, we've got this big announcement coming, it's coming. They just make a big announcement, or make an announcement, and then go about their business. They just said, hey, we just partnered with iHeartRadio. Like, no one really knew this thing was, like, really in the works. Or I don't know how, like, big it's going to be to actually help them or do anything. I don't know. But any money that they can get from anybody and anything that they get out of it is something positive. So you've got to just say, oh, well, yeah, sure, I don't know exactly what you're going to get out of that besides the money, but, like, the money that they, like, surely they must be getting must be something decent for them, even if it doesn't really provide anything else. And the Warner Brothers deal, obviously, that's a big deal for the Eurosport India market. So, and it's a multi-year deal. So, again, just getting the product in front of more people in general. I think the only deal that has really had much talk about it was what became the AMC deal, because and that was only, like, every few months or whatever else it was that they were checking in, or whatever else it was. Yes, there was a bit of chatter from people like Matt Hardy and a few other people saying, hey, we're trying to get this done, we're trying to get this done, we're trying to get this done, and whatever, etc., etc., etc. And we've been in talks, or they've been in talks, or this is what they've told us, or what. And I think it's to some degree, it is good to hear somebody's this is happening, not just one of the wrestlers or some of the wrestlers or some of the other crew or whatever involved, not just the main figurehead. Because again, you can hear something from the main figurehead like Tony Khan or Carlos Silva or whoever, and be just like, oh yeah, whatever, sure dude, what, you're going to say whatever you're going to say. But if you hear it from the people that they are working with, and that sort of thing, being like, hey, no, yeah, we understand people's, might be trepidatious about this, but the thing is, hey, we're going to try, and we're going to work. And we're going to see, that's the best thing about TNA now is yes, again, maybe you say, oh, they haven't made, I think it was there the other day that I saw somebody saying about, they haven't really brought in any, big time names. But still, the thing is, what they're doing is working. And I was saying this in a recent video where I was saying, hey, look at their numbers. Their numbers are going up, 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 up. There's only one time here where the numbers go back down from the high that they were on, and then they're going back up again. It's it is going to ebb and flow, and then you're going to find, where your rough audience is at some point. Well, maybe, I don't know, but at some point, hopefully they will. But even if they don't, as long as it keeps going up and up and up, that can only be, interpreted as a good thing. If people start tuning in, and if people start seeing, hey, that those first few episodes or whatever, yeah, they especially I think the first one, a lot of people were a bit disappointed or whatever. I think again, maybe that's the bar too high expectations or whatever else it is. And I keep having to go back to this point and whatnot. It's a really good show for the most part. Yes, they don't always have 20-minute 5-star classics or whatever else it is, that sort of thing. That's not what they're really about. They're looking to showcase wrestling to a different degree. They're not here just to be banger. They do have banger after banger after banger, but to an extent. But again, they're not here just to have a 20-minute segment. And some people were complaining that a segment was more than 5 minutes. What? And not everything's an instant five-star classic. I get that, but sometimes it's not just having those matches or whatever, those moments. It's to get these beats of the story that are necessary to get that, to get to that point. It's not necessarily, was it a bad match, good match, whatever. It's did it lead to something? It's so many times you've got awesome match or whatever, but it wasn't really built to, and instead of a payoff on pay-per-view or at a premium event, it's given off away for free on TV. Not to say that you can't do that, but how are you building something off it? Not just, oh, that was awesome, but it's forgotten because here comes the next thing. So that's what I think, mainly has not just endeared, but kept people coming, sort of thing. They're somewhat understated, that they're just no, dude, we're here, and we're not in everyone's face, and we're not We're not, how, we're just doing our thing, dude. And if people tune in, people tune in. Obviously, we want people to tune in, but we're not, we're trying to find people where they are. If people aren't interested in WWE or aren't interested in AEW or whatever, hey, maybe they'll check us out. And we've got the things in place to help people tune into what we do. And yes, perhaps you can get our pay-per-views on Triller TV, aka, or formerly Fight TV or whatever, and the TNA Plus app. I don't think you can get it anywhere else, actually, honestly. But you can get it in a couple of places, but you can choose one or the other. You don't have to be on the TNA Plus app, or you don't have to be on Triller TV. I don't think AMC gets the pay-per-views, but it gets the TV, at least. AMC Plus, rather. But yeah, it's not hard to follow what we do, for the most part. Yes, you might need, quote-unquote, a subscription to tune into the pay-per-views or whatever, or you just buy a ticket. Hey, But yeah, for the most part, we're not asking you to tune into Netflix, then tune into this other thing for this other show, or, whatever else it is. It's not like we have 1,000,001 shows or whatever else it is, and you have to tune into all of them. And sometimes, yes, you could say, oh, well, what about tuning into NXT or whatever else it is to follow some of the story? A lot of the story that is in NXT doesn't really, cross over to TNA. Yes, some of it kind of does. But, mainly it's just the Ariana Grace storyline, and what's happening in WWE really isn't that much affecting or connecting to what's happening in TNA. Yes, you can see the same thing, you can see the same pattern kind of thing, but you don't really need to watch NXT to get what's happening in TNA. Whereas, maybe, yes, you could say, oh, well, I don't need to watch NXT to get what's happening on Raw or SmackDown or both, or whatever else it is. But, yeah. Do you still have to watch Raw to get what happened on SmackDown? Or do you have to watch SmackDown to get what happened on Raw? That sort of thing. It's one of those things, of TNA, at least, same thing for AEW. Do you have to watch Dynamite to get what happened on Collision? And I can't remember all their shows. Do you have to watch what happened on Ring of Honor to remember what happened on Collision, or whatever else it is? Or did you have to watch something from 6 years ago to know, oh, this is what's happening now, or whatever else it is? Yeah, I don't think many people would do that. But again, yes, for those entrenched fans or whatever else it is, that's great to say, hey, here's something that references something from years and years and years ago, or whatever else it is. That's great. Hey, you're here, you're paying attention. So we'll reward you for, hey, having been, loyal and paying attention to the product. We won't treat you like an idiot. But for those people that haven't seen those things from 6 years ago, they're just like, what is this? Until you bring it, out of saying, hey, here it is in a video package, or here it is sampled for you and shown to you so that you can, see it, and that doesn't need to happen at the pay-per-view. You can just like show it to them at a certain point. That's what the Trons are for and things like that. I like to show you a little clip. This happened 6 years ago, whatever it is, I don't know, but this happened last week. That's how you get people sometimes being like, yes, it is a show, and people watch that show, but what happens on it affects people, or they know about it. They aren't just dumb or whatever. They aren't just not paying attention or not seeing what happens. They can go back and watch something and see it happen when they go home, or when they are on the road or whatever, So, yeah, again, not treating your wrestlers like idiots, or not treating your audience like idiots and being like, they don't know, or whatever, they're idiots, or are they? Because again, like, how wouldn't they know if they watch AEW? They watch the tape back, that sort of thing. They can, like you always say, wrestlers are students of the game and things like that. Why didn't they go back and not just saying, watch the wrestling, or watch it, whatever, watch the promos or whatever. Hey, this was a segment that I don't know whether it involved you, but it referenced you. So again, why aren't you going back to see, hey, wait a minute, they said that about me? Those assholes. Like, why aren't you doing that? That's just, something that, I guess it's a trope and whatnot of certain things and whatnot. So, but yeah, I do think it is a bit dumb when you see wrestlers and whatnot be like, not going back and seeing and saying, hey, you didn't think I was stupid, did you? Whatever. That sort of thing. It is that thing of, right people to be, not infallible or whatever, but right people to be, hey, I'm not dumb. I watched the show, and I saw what you had to say, or whatever. Or I heard what you had to say, or whatever. And then have that moment of them going, oh man, look, yes, I did say that, but, I said that because if I hadn't have said that, they would have thought I've gone soft or whatever else it is, and all of this stuff. And so I was trying to protect myself. So I said those things. So I'm sorry. Whatever. That sort of thing. Especially when you're trying to have two people work together or whatever. But then you finally have the betrayal later, where it's like they feed them to the wolves or whatever else it was. Or turn their back on them or whatever. But anyway, I know that's like pretty separate discussion in another way of another topic or whatever. So I won't. We'll just wrap that up and just move back on and just wrap this up, I guess, because I haven't really got a whole lot more to really say about this. Excuse me. But yeah, like it is one of those things of, I think this is a super positive thing that TNA is doing, of being just like, here's a deal we made. Then just announces it. Yes, I can get like people being like, we have a major announcement, everyone's gonna tune in. But like the thing about that is like always the issue of, I guess, letting people down or whatever else. Building, like, that's why the AMC thing was such a big build-up in some ways, and it was a fairly big deal when it did come off. So people were perhaps not like the most excited, because I think people were maybe expecting a little bit too much again, of a deal or whatever else it was. But hey, it is a stepping stone. And that's the thing, you know, that's what they needed. They needed that stepping stone, at least for now, just to say, hey, look at what we can do if you give us the chance. And maybe AMC will be like, hey, well, we gave them a chance, and, you know, that paid off pretty well. So what if we throw a bit more money at it, you know, maybe it'll do even better, you know. Like, we need some better sets, we need some better cameras, we need some better production, we need better lighting, we need better rigs, we need better infrastructure, basically trucks and transport and rings, and we need, you know, like, just those ground roots things, or those basic things that the wrestling needs. It's like, yeah, these are the things that we need for the show. It's not just, you know, an expense to be an expense. And maybe if you go back to the older days and say, hey, where is this set that we used to have, or where is this that we used to have? We had to sell that, we had to sell this, we had to do this, we had to do that. Okay, cool. Well, you know, let's find, you know, something that will replace it, or something similar, or the thing itself, you know, even if it's just for history's sake, saying, hey, look, that's what we used to do. You know, we used to have these things and that thing. Could this be useful today? You know, maybe it could be, because now we've actually got, you know, lighter and smaller cameras or whatever. Whereas before it was like, oh yes, it's great, but realistically it's not what we need, because it's too, like, the rig becomes too heavy, or it becomes too unstable, or whatever else it is. You know, or even saying, hey, well, we need to go out and look for things that WWE used to have, or whatever else it is, or WCW used to have, or whoever used to have, like, for production of arenas and things like that, you know, so that we can, you know, we can use their rigs that you know, we know work, or we need to find them, or we need to build them, or we need to, you know, do whatever. We need to hire a company that does build them, or put them together for us. Maybe that is in the works, I don't know. But again, those are the sorts of things that you need. You just need ways to be able to shoot your production, not just by people, but by, you know, hey, we need these rigs, these non-static cameras, or these static cameras, or whatever else it is that, you know, we can film this thing with, and it can get these good shots that are needed for the show. Yes, we still need our you know, we need our ring crew cameras, or our other hard cameras, or whatever, soft cameras, or whatever, or jig cameras, or whatever else it is. Or even just getting drones, I don't know, drone shots, or other things like that, or using those to film it. There could be a million different things that you do to figure these things out. But again, those are the sorts of things that we need. So again, these deals, when you just come along and say, hey, we made this deal, look, we did it, we did the thing. Sometimes it's a little bit of that mixed with a little bit of, hey, we've really got this big thing coming, and we're looking to expand, and we're looking to be on a bigger, better network, and and get into more homes, and get into more places, even just for the next couple of years. Like, again, you know, hey, we did that, we were there, we did consistently good on that network. And like, from the numbers that we've looked at so far, and I think we were saying like 300,000 was like the mean that we were looking for, roughly thereabouts, and anything above that would be like gravy. And we're not far off of that, which is like really good. And I said, like, in that video that I'm just about to put out as well, like, hey, um, I'm pretty sure they'll get 300K in the next 6 months, if not in the next year, definitely. And if they're not at over 300K, getting closer to 400K by the end of the year, I'll be really surprised. So maybe like it is. I don't think it is maxed out, but maybe it is maxed out. I don't know. But again, like, maybe that is the max 300K. I don't know. But again, we won't know until it happens, I guess, and until people either start tuning in, because again, like, I think this is something that came up during a conversation with somebody. I don't think, like, besides the creative in WWE and in AEW or whatever, that people have that big of a problem with WWE, except for the ticket prices. I think that, again, sometimes it's this thing of like the IWC, or even some of the podcasters, even like myself, I can be somewhat a bit negative about, like, oh, that was stupid, or that was dumb, or I don't think that made any sense, or whatever else it was. Hot potatoing the title between Drew and Cody and whatnot, and all of this stuff. You ruined both of their runs because you couldn't just say, okay, like, and again, like, Cody is a big time guy right now, and I don't think that he really needs all that much to keep him elevated. He's already elevated in a lot of people's minds, and I know, again, like, the live crowd can be a lot different, and they can be like being behind this a lot more than what sometimes it is shown to be, or whatever else it is, or in the moment they were behind it, or whatever else it was. I don't know. But, and again, I know that the WWE and whatnot, they pipe in sound and whatnot, so again, but you can see when people are jumping up and moving and doing things, and are into it, not just jumping up and down being like mad or whatever, or putting their hand in the air or whatever else it is. So yes, certainly some people were very happy for these things to happen, because again, like, the match between Orton and Cody is a thing that they wanted to see, and I think you could have got to that. You could have had Randy win the. Did he win the Chamber? I think he won the Chamber, didn't he? Yeah, I think he won the Chamber, and I think Cody should have won the belt back at maybe Royal Rumble, so that then you've got this thing between Orton and Cody set up, and like, or kind of set up at Elimination Chamber, or for the future for WrestleMania. But you've also got like Cody and Drew again for I guess the millionth time, or whatever else it is. But you've got that rematch for them, and then you're maybe like going to go, oh well, maybe it'll be a 3-way, maybe not, who knows, whatever. It won't just be Orton versus Cody, but it'll be something else. But whatever, at least Drew will kind of be maybe doing something else, or maybe he'll go into another program, or whatever else it is. We'll wait and see. Or maybe he'll get a match after Mania or something. Who knows? Or maybe it'll be on night 2. Who knows? Something like that. You could have one match on night 1 and one match on night 2, if it, and then you have, I guess, if Orton did win or does win, it'd be like, oh yeah, he gets Drew on night 2, or maybe he gets a triple threat on night 2. Wait, it would be like a really mad situation, but yeah, that would be interesting. Things like that. I don't know, but again, that would have been a better thing. Whereas, if Drew had a beat Cena, I don't know. I don't know how you could have worked that out, but maybe like, again, saying Cody versus Cena 2 Electric Boogaloo, maybe that should have happened, I don't know, a bit sooner. I don't know. Maybe it was good to have it at SummerSlam. I don't know. But again, like, I think again, just, and I think the timing of Drew winning, like he winning in Scotland and whatnot, that was cool. I get that, but it's like you could have had him just come back to Scotland with the belt and be like, oh, or whatever, come out in front of his people and his crowd, his hometown or whatever and all that, and be, doing his thing. But yeah, I don't know. He didn't, like, did he really need to win it? Like, maybe in some regards, maybe just defend it in Scotland or whatever. That's good. Um. So, but yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, like, you contrast like things that, again, like Orton is basically a legend at this point. Basically, time to look at, hanging up the boots and having like one last great WrestleMania match, and then putting some other people over on the way out, or whatever, that sort of thing. Because his back must be killing him, and whatnot. So why not go out, sort of on top, and or, well, to an extent, say, and it's the same for Cody. It's like, even though he's a bit younger, it's like he's already done pretty much everything. He's already the golden child. Much like Roman Reigns, maybe we'll get a couple more years out of him, but then he'll start transitioning more into that part-time role. And same for Drew, realistically. He's been at that top for a while now, and it's like, yeah, we won't get much more of him, and it's cool to see him get his last, like, sort of flowers at the top, really, sort of thing. But again, it's so much like they're so over reliant on Cody and these sorts of things being the same thing. It's like, instead of, like, yes, you could have done this big thing with Drew or whatever else it is, but you're not just doing, like, when you're doing something, you're not just doing it to say, oh, we'll give Drew some time or some moment or some flowers or whatever else it is. We're saying, okay, cool. Who are we bringing up or trying to bring up? Not just saying, hey, we're going to go back to Cody. No, we were going to try to bring Breaker up, or we're going to try to bring this person up, or we're going to try to bring that person up, whatever it is. And yes, sometimes, like, injuries and other things, get in the way of all of that, or whatever else it is. Life gets in the way, but you can only do your best with what you've got. And if you say, hey, we don't have really anybody else, well, that's your own fault of saying, hey, we haven't really tried to make anyone else. Whereas, like, if you're, and maybe in the same boat with TNA, it's like, we've got our couple of big time guys, and we're trying to have this big time program right now with those guys, Macklin and Santana. But you've still got Moose there. You've still got, like, Eddie there. You've still got, a bunch of, like, bigger names. But you've got, like, some of these new guys coming into the mix, or new gals coming into the mix too. You've got a whole bunch of different things going on, not just, and yes, you've got to get more of that upper mid card more established, or whatever else it is, especially with the younger or newer guys or whatever. But yeah, you've got Trey there to sort of go into that position, and he's going into that position. I think, again, like I've talked about AJ Francis so much, I have to keep talking about him. But I think in that position, that's where he does belong, at least for now. You've got a lot of the guys that. And I don't want to just talk about the guys, because we haven't even talked about the girls very much. Whereas I've talked about the guys a lot in a lot of these. I realized, and we haven't really touched enough on the girls, on the knockouts and whatnot. I don't really think Rosemary's gonna get back into the singles division and do too much again. Maybe I could be wrong, but I don't really see it. I see her being, well, I say singles division, and that I mean by that being like the title division, I guess. I could see her just being in number one contenders matches and things like that, or whatever, things like that, where it's like, oh yeah, somebody beats you and then goes on or whatever. I can't really see her actually being in a feud or in a story or whatever that much with somebody who holds the belt or even holding the belt, because that's not really the, maybe like if they really have a big problem with their division or whatever else it is, that they might call on her to be the steady hand that holds the wheel or whatever else it is, that sort of thing. But I don't really see it. Like I just see that they're on too good of a roll and on too good of a path right now to fall into that thing. And again, maybe like there's a lot of respect behind it or whatever else it is, because she's been there for a long time and done a lot of great things and whatever else it is, and been a glue for the company and whatever else and all that stuff. Certainly I could see that as well. But again, I just think, she knows, hey, I don't need to be the star. I can be just a big part of this. But to do that, I need to not just lose all the time. And I need a story or something to keep people engaged and interested, or something different, something fresh, even if it refers to something old or whatever else it is. People did want to see, like, do want to see some sort of conclusion, some sort of payoff that, you know, you know, that makes them feel good about it and makes them feel like, hey, they did it. They did the thing. And, now what are they going to do? Well, they're going to, like, if again, like, I think where you're going with this, is that they win the tag team titles at some point down the road. Hope maybe a Slammiversary. I could think about that. That could be right. Maybe Bound for Glory. I don't know. But yeah, at some point they do win the titles at a big moment and have their hurrah and whatever else. And then, they held the titles for like 6 months or whatever else it is, and then lose them again, and then just, I don't know what you're going to do from there. But again, like, at least you've done the big thing and you've been like, huzzah, they did it somehow, some way, and it's a great moment and whatever else. And then, they have a decent run. Oh, well, I hope they have a decent run. It's going to be tough. But again, then they have their run. Then they go off and do whatever after they've had their little run or whatever, So, or even maybe again, like, a lot of people wanted Allie back, so they might want her to be like, I mean, maybe Rosemary to be a manager of Allie or something. I don't know. And Allie just be like out there wrestling or whatever. I don't know. But yeah. And being in number one contenderships and things like that. I don't know. But yeah. But yeah, I think this week, hopefully, we'll see. Because like it's like, I think it's like a week away from Sacrifice, I think. So I think next week is like the go home show. I think that's where we were at. 28th. Wasn't it? Yep. So yeah, like, next week is the go home show. So yeah, you kind of need to, like, announce at least most of what you're gonna do this week for the pay-per-view or for the special. I think only really one of these matches thus far that's kind of announced for the show is going to be announced to be a match. But now you can kind of see, like, maybe at least what they're going to do, I think, with the Angel Warriors and Danny and Ariana. So we'll wait to see that. That'll happen later on tonight or today. So yeah, if this episode, which this episode will probably come out after that announcement or after that discussion. So yeah, but we will see, or at least after it's actually broadcast, probably as well. But still, I've actually recorded it way before. But yeah, if they don't, then I think they've already taped next week's episode. So at that point, I think I am going to record saying, hey, spoilers ahead, guys. Even though those spoilers have probably been out for absolutely ages and I could have looked them up, I think it's time that we pull their finger out for them and be like, hey, these, like, again, like, sometimes these other announcements can get in the way of some of these other announcements or whatever. But you could do both, guys. You could do both. Just announce things and just say, hey, this is what's happening, or this is what's going down. This is what's, like, especially when it's like less than a week out, or just about a week out. It's like, dude, what the hell? So hopefully they will announce things, and we'll see that when it comes out. So yeah, we'll wait and see for that. Later on tonight, I will get to talking about those things. So until then, I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. Be kind to one another, and I hope you will join me again in another one.